Welcome everyone to the January board meeting, and Happy New Year to everybody. I will start off by reading the appeal of decisions pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws. Please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. We will move to consideration of minutes. If there are no changes, entertain a motion of approval.
So moved.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes carry. Any Metro Council referrals today?
No.
Nope. Moving on to old business, we have two items from the naming committee and one from the acquisition today. The committees met prior to this meeting. First one is a naming of number 121809, staff request board approval to adopt the name Mansfield Creek Park for the site currently referred to as Goodlettsville Park, located at 7744 Old Springfield Pike.
In the committee meeting, we met on this, and there was unanimous approval on this.
Entertain a motion for approval.
I so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Second item, 121810, staff request board approval to adopt the name Frankie Pierce Park for the site currently referred to as Capitol View Park, located at 130 Lifeway Plaza. We had a good presentation last meeting on this, and the committee met previous to this meeting.
And the acquisition committee voted unanimously to approve this.
Entertain a motion for approval. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Moving to acquisition, item 121811, staff request board approval to enter into an excess land license agreement with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for the purpose of constructing and maintaining a multi-use pedestrian greenway on a 0.51 acre parcel along Interstate 440 adjacent to the northbound ramp onto northeast bound West End Avenue as part of the 440 Greenway. Acquisition Committee?
The acquisition committee met prior to this meeting and unanimously approved this acquisition, and we felt it was consistent with Plan to Play and the Greenways master plan and the development of the 440 Greenway.
Thank you. Motion?
Maybe just a correction that it's not an acquisition but a land license? Or is that necessary to clarify?
I think it's good for clarification.
It's a license, and it's documented in the record, in the minutes, on the agenda.
But it is the acquisitions committee is the committee that needs to approve it. Correct.
Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda. If there's no opposition, I'll consider the consent agenda in total. If there's a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. All right, moving to new business. 01-1902, the Bellevue Community Fund requests approval from the board to honor donors to the redevelopment of the Red Caboose Playground and associated improvements with a commemorative plaque. Plaque design must be reviewed and approved by park staff before implementation. Tim?
You all had previously approved the Bellevue Community Fund raising funds for improvements to Red Caboose Park, and this is just approving donor recognition for the funds that they have raised.
My question is, we're approving donor recognition, that there will be donor recognition, but we will have an opportunity to see what a design before it's actually.
Yes, approved by park staff before, before implementing.
So this is just that they can recognize donors. That's our vote.
Yes.
Okay.
With that condition, I'd make a motion to approve.
There's a motion,
Second.
a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. 01-1903, staff request board approval of a new fee structure for memorial trees and benches. The rate increase is as follows. For a new bench, previous fee $1,200. The new fee is $2,200. For a new tree, $200. Previous fee, the new fee is $250. Who would like?
Tim.
Tim?
This is a little bit of housekeeping. The previous fees don't even currently cover our real costs on the benches in particular. So this is just updating pricing for real costs for trees and benches and indirect costs that are incurred by the Parks Department staff as well.
So the 2,200 does not cover the.
The 2,200 will.
It will,
Yeah,
okay.
this is a-
1,200 does not.
Right, this is an attempt to recover full
Okay.
costs.
So this would be a break even, for lack of a better term.
Essentially, I mean, it's a little bit over break even, but that should allow us to, as we anticipate that hard costs will continue to increase, so this should apply for some time in the future.
I'd move to approve,
Second.
Chairman.
Second.
So motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, I have a crazy question. Have we ever considered moving this to one of our support organizations where it actually is a fundraising opportunity?
It's a good question.
That would cover the hard costs, plus bring more support.
I don't know that we have ever considered that, but a consideration in making it a fundraising opportunity is that I think there would be lots of people in the community who want to fundraise in the parks. And then we'd have a bunch of trees and benches, probably more. The parks would be more saturated than we necessarily would like for them to be.
So you limit the number now?
We limit the number. The parks, the staff will determine, of course, in consultation with the donor or the individual, where it goes, what type of tree, so that we guard against oversaturation.
Well, it might be something to consider. I think there are probably ways that we could answer all of that. I don't know, just something we could think about.
In the past, Friends of Warner Parks and Greenways for Nashville have both managed their own memorial bench and tree programs, and they independently have both determined that they will no longer.
Oh, I
To
see.
guard against
I mean,
How they independently-
not related to
Like I
this.
said, a
not
crazy.
really- not
I
related
started
to
off by
this
saying
increase
this is
in
a
fees.
crazy idea.
Yeah.
But we do have the
But to
National
guard-
Parks
yeah, to
Foundation.
guard
that
against
we might be able to
Yeah,
use.
they're all
Yeah.
here, right here,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
them, right here. All right, okay.
And we could speak to that if you want.
No,
Yeah.
I think I get it.
Speaking of oversaturation.
identified projects and we cover costs. So for Greenways for Nashville, we've done water fountains and they're about $6,000 each. So we get all of that money, but it's an identified need. We might buy maintenance
Sure,
or
we have to be identified.
Right,
the benches, same thing.
that's right.
We don't have a program per se, but if there's an identified need that's going to be built in anyway, we raise the actual cost plus some operating support for our organization.
And we're out of bench locations, so there are no more
Oh, really?
memorial benches in
Wow.
Warner Parks.
Sold out.
Yeah, we are sold out. So, yeah.
That's interesting. All right, there's a motion and second on the floor, I think. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. All right, we have a special presentation today, Nashville Parks Foundation, to present annual update to the board. The chair, Brian Taylor, is here. Mr. Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Director Odom. Thanks for allowing me to be here today. Thanks to the board. As not to dive into a most recent discussion, I'm not sure that the Parks Foundation is willing to have any acceptance of any other things on our agenda until we further discuss. So but it's always nice to be recommended or at least recognized. So the last time I was here is probably about a year ago. I just want to give you an update of where the foundation is today financially, what we've taken in, and where we've spent our funds. I'll dive right in. Today, keeping in mind we have two different accounts. We have our main account, and then we have an Earth Day account that is separate. And I'll talk about that in detail if anybody needs. Our balance as of 12/31/2018 was $572,483. 229 of that are restricted funds, and our total unrestricted balance is $342,900. The total is 146. The total of $572,483 is $146,000 greater than it was at this time last year. Over this past year, we have received $213,600 in restricted funds, made up of consisting of, excuse me, $200,000 in $100,000 increments toward Elmington Park Tennis Court rehab, another $100,000 toward the Metro Community Centers, $10,000 for Tony Rose Park, and $3,600 for Cane Ridge Disc Golf. We received $101,240 in unrestricted funds, $91,322 from Live Nation, and as a interesting mention, Mr. Scott Britton passed away in October of last year. He and his family had requested, in lieu of flowers and those sorts of things as his memorial, that they make contributions to the Parks Foundation. I can't remember exactly how they got to us, but apparently Mr. Britton was obviously a fan of the parks. So up through 12/31 of 2018, we had received $7,040.97. I'm not sure where the change comes from, but or how it got here. They come through our PayPal online contribution. So that's a pretty unique contribution mechanism that we had, and obviously we didn't expect that. But we are grateful for the Britton family in keeping the Parks Foundation on their minds and hopefully on more minds. Over the past year, let me run down it real quick. We spent $104,000, or I say we gave out $104,000 over the course of 2018. $540 in Cane Ridge Disc Golf expenses. We contributed $3,600 to the Parks Department employee Christmas meal or Christmas party, Christmas event. We gave $62,000 of previously restricted funds to the Friends of Warner Park. We gave $15,000 to the Hillsborough West End HOA to effectively complete their fundraising that they needed at the time to reconstruct the Dragon in the Dragon Park. And then we gave $15,000 to the Nashville Steam Preservation Society, which, as many of you know, is part of the Nashville Steam Engine that will be relocating later this week. I think those of us who have been following that project are very excited about that. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a separate Earth Day account, and this is to a few of the changes that are going on at the foundation. Previously, Earth Day, in its many years' history, has been a Metro Public Works funded and managed project. In 2019, the foundation has agreed that they will assume responsibility for Earth Day. And I use the term responsibility as we're using it as our signature event in 2019, and we'll assess as it goes forward in taking over the role of that from Metro Public Works. And we have contracted with Dennis Freeman to be the event manager. And Dennis, if you know who he is in his company, he does a number of events around town and does them very, very well. And has worked on Earth Day for a number of years in partnership with the Public Works Department. Secondly, we are in the process of gathering resumes, and we'll begin and have begun our search for a president of the foundation, and being a paid staff member versus those of us who spend time on the board, as you're doing here, to run the foundation and really looking at it from a perspective of raising large dollar contributions to the foundation. We've got a number of smaller restricted funds that we certainly enjoy. And with all due respect to the community foundation, I'm not sure that to date we want to go down that road as a foundation, and we have been looking at it on a case-by-case basis. But having someone who manages the day-to-day operations, who seeks grants, who seeks contributions, in order to grow the foundation to a very, very sizable program, that's our goal. Those are the efforts that we're undergoing now. To that effect, thank you. And before I complete my initial comments, I would, as I did last year, I can't thank Janet Frazier enough for all that she does to help me, as well as the other board members, in all the things that we are doing and have done over this past year on the foundation. With that, I conclude my comments. Any questions?
Can you talk about salary range for that position?
We haven't finalized those discussions.
Okay.
Our sense is that we want the salary to be commensurate with an individual who can come in and raise a significant amount of dollars for the foundation and ultimately to benefit the parks. We don't necessarily just want a caretaker. We want someone with the ability to reach out to community leaders, and business leaders, and those folks that have the ability to help us get to where we want to be. And to answer your question continuously in a more vague manner, we just don't have that number yet.
Okay.
And it will be dependent upon the applicants that we see.
When will those applications be accepted?
We're getting resumes now. I think that the deadline for the cutoff of that is January 31st. I can't remember, but Center for Nonprofit Management, who Ms. Hughes is very closely related to, is helping us in seeking those out.
Any further questions?
You've got other board members with you? If so, I'd love for you to introduce them.
Not behind me, but Ms. Hughes is the Parks Board representative on the foundation board. So thank you to Ms. Hughes for her service. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for allowing me to be here.
All right. Moving on to capital projects update. Tim?
You all just approved the donor recognition for Bellevue Red Caboose, and you may also have seen some of the PR related to the Bellevue Community Foundation's launching of that capital campaign. The equipment is ordered on that, and there will be a couple of community build days this spring. In Centennial Park, Brian mentioned it, the locomotive is exiting the park this Sunday, so I think it's going to be a spectacle.
What time does that start?
7 a.m.
Oh, does it really?
7 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And it will take hours. So
Yeah.
when the exciting part happens, I'm not sure, but you might bring a chair. I don't think anything moves fast. For Wharf Park, awarding a master planning and design contract, the evaluation committee is still in the process of evaluating those many proposals. We had 1 2-hour meeting earlier this week, and we're going to have another one just to get through them all since there's so many. In the last month, we have completed the Fort Negley Cultural Landscape Report. This was a partnership between Metro Parks and the Metro Historical Commission. This is just a draft, so we're still all going to be reviewing it and making sure that that it reflects the Historical Commission's and Metro Parks comments. And Orchard Bend Park is substantially complete. This is in the Antioch area, multi-sport sports field complex and playground. Since it's dominated by the sports fields, we probably won't open it to the public or have any kind of event until this spring when those fields are ready for play. But it is substantially complete, and we'll be opening the playground and the trails at least to the public in a soft opening. That's it.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Tim. Jackie, upcoming special activities and events.
So, Happy New Year, everybody. In addition to the exhibits that are going on at the Art Center and the Parthenon and the programs at the nature centers and the community centers, we've already alluded to one of the big ticket items for this January, and that's the relocation of the steam locomotive at Centennial Park. It starts at 7 a.m., and a couple of things you might be interested in knowing. They anticipate that the move will be from 2 to 4 hours. It will go from Park Plaza to Charlotte, then to 12 North, where it will arrive at its final destination at the Nashville Western Railroad tracks.
That's crazy.
So it's been in the park for 65 years. The restoration of the landmark is expected to take approximately 4 years at $1.5 to $2 million. So that's something that you might want to take into consideration. In addition to that, we have participants in our disability programs who will be displaying their artwork at the Friss Museum. That is from now until January 20th. So those are a couple of things that you might want to keep in mind for your January agenda.
All right, well, thank you. Department updates? Anybody? Before we have the report of the director, from the director, I want to mention two items. One is Fort Negley that you mentioned, Tim. Fort Negley Committee, and I'll bring the names, the final list of names at the next committee, is having its first meeting in a couple weeks. Kix Brooks has taken a very active role in this and asked him to chair the committee, and he's doing a great job pulling everyone together. And I'll give you a much broader update at the next meeting, but it's a very diverse and broad committee of people to oversee and guide the vision for Fort Negley. So we're very excited about that, and I'll have him come soon, and we can talk more about that, just to let you know. And then on Cheekwood, we talked about Cheekwood coming by the end of last year to give us an update on the parking situation that we've been talking about. And Monique and I talked recently. Cheekwood is making a great effort to try to figure something out. They're not doing that. I suggested to them, and I hope it's okay with everyone, for them to come in April. I think they need a little bit more time, but they're working actively with the Friends of Warner Parks and others to talk through what options there might be. So I just felt that like they needed a little bit more time to vet all options, and they'll be here to report to us in April. So I wanted to give you that update. All right. Report from the director.
Okay,
Director?
thank you. Thank you so much. Happy New Year, everybody. Just a few items to mention. Tim and Jackie both have talked about the train, and that was at the top of my list, so I will not mention that again, the steam engine, but it's very exciting, and hopefully I can be here at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. It's a little bit before Sunday school, so I might be able to make it. To piggyback on the Fort Negley Committee and a related issue, deconstruction, the contract for deconstruction of Grish Stadium, an intent to award has been issued, and contract negotiations are going forward. I'm not sure how long that will take, but the process is moving forward. I just wanted to let everybody know that.
Do we have any idea when it might start? I mean, is it 2 months or? guessing?
I think we'll probably have a contract in place in January.
You will have a contract in place in January. I don't want to guess in public on TV. I'll tell you behind
They
it.
still have to deploy their equipment and mobilize, so.
Yeah, there's a process.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a process. And then just to mention that the mayor's budget hearings, I'm not sure they'll be called hearings, but let's just call them that for now. They're tentatively scheduled for the week of May 25th. As I mentioned last month, we have not received any budget instructions yet, but I expect to receive some late next week instructions as to what we should or should not submit. So, fingers crossed, everybody. That's it.
All right. Any other items or comments, questions?
I'd like to just compliment, I don't know how many of you waited late, but I got by for about 30, 45 minutes, but the Christmas party, and I didn't realize the foundation had given some money to us for it was fantastic, and the music ought to be downtown. I think there's some real talent here. I don't know if people realize it or not. I'm telling you, they do it.
Thank you. They are,
Oh,
absolutely, yeah.
Right,
Staff
and
band.
it was play money,
Yeah.
but gambling was,
Oh, no. Never mind. No, yeah, it was,
but I mean, I think it's complimentary.
perfect.
It was fantastic. It was a buzz, is all I can tell you.
And it was everything was perfectly legal and within civil service rules.
You woke up Macy over there when you said that.
And I'd like to say thank you to the Nashville Parks Foundation for supporting that event. I mean, they did last year, and I think the year before that as well. So,
It was excellent.
yeah, it was, and they have for the past several years. So, thank you very much for your support of the department.
Well, we kicking off the year with a short meeting after long meetings in 2018. So, if there's nothing else, entertain motion for adjournment.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.